What's up, everyone? It's Toby Ramone, and I'm going to be talking about a classic movie today that I just watched for the first time last night with some friends. And that movie is Heat, which is directed by Mann. It is a crime thriller classic. As I said, directed by Mann. It stars Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Danny Trejo. It is awesome. It's right off the bat. It's a classic for a reason, and I'm just going to go over what I thought was so great about it. It goes without saying, everything I say is not going to be the first time you've probably heard this. It's a very well-respected and loved movie, so I'm definitely not the first to sing its praises. But I'll just start off with the filmmaking itself. The way it's directed is incredible. It is one of those movies where there's so much tension that you're just leaning forward in your seat, holding your breath throughout every action scene of the movie. The best thing I can compare it to, I guess, is I feel like it's a movie where you can tell that The Dark Knight took a lot of influence from it. And maybe not even the whole movie overall, but that first scene of The Dark Knight where the Joker is robbing the bank, that is the closest comparison I can give to what the action scenes in this movie felt. Which is actually funny, because the guy that Joker unmasks to in the beginning of the movie is also in Heat. But if you like that kind of thrill, that kind of feeling, this movie is probably for you. And on top of that, as great as the action is, it has a lot more to offer than just that. There's lots of twists throughout the story, and the characters all just have such interesting dynamics and relationships between each other, where they're all very distinct in how they act and their motivations, but they all have this respect for each other. The two best performances in this movie come from Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, who are the leads, and honestly, they're two of the greatest actors of all time. It's no surprise, but Al Pacino plays the lead cop who's trying to catch the thieves, trying to catch this crew who are pulling heists, and Robert De Niro is the head of that crew. And their dynamic is really interesting because for a lot of the movie, there is just this cat and mouse game between them. Robert De Niro is being spied on by Al Pacino and the police from afar. And then probably about halfway through the movie, when they first meet each other face to face, they just sit down and have a conversation over coffee. It is such a great scene because they're just sitting down and talking. And the first scene they're together, no action, no one's in danger. They're just sitting down and talking, and it's the type of thing where they see a lot of themselves in each other, except they just do very different things. Like Al Pacino is saying basically says catching people like you is all I know how to do and I don't want to stop. And Robert De Niro's thing is pulling these heists, making this money, that's all I know how to do and I don't want to stop either. So the dynamic between those two, it just leads to so many great moments throughout the film, and it adds this layer to them that I feel like a lot of other filmmakers maybe wouldn't have gone for it. They would have just left it at the simple good guy, bad guy, and not elaborated a whole lot more. But as far as the writing goes, a lot of the best parts of this movie aren't even the action, which is impressive because the action is incredible in this movie. But it's so fun to see that the good guys of the police, Al Pacino's side, who are trying to catch the bad guys, who are pulling the heist led by Robert De Niro, they are both so good at what they do that you never really know who's ahead of the other. It's constantly just one person coming in the lead and then the other person coming in the lead, and it's hard to tell after a while in the movie. You don't know who's on top because the rug could just be pulled out from under you so quickly. So yeah, it's a great movie all around. It is a classic for a reason. Val Kilmer is really good in it too. There's plots of like romance interests, you know, between the three main characters with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Val Kilmer. Not with each other though. Watching it back and editing, I did not realize that that was how I made it sound. So with Val Kilmer's wife, Al Pacino's wife, and Robert De Niro meeting someone towards the beginning of the movie. And all of those took up more screen time than I thought they would, but I think that's a good thing. All of those relationships were interesting to me, and they all played a part in the story, and how, and like, you could tell it weighed on the characters just, or maybe not just as much, but it weighed on them in a similar amount to the heists that were getting pulled off. Natalie Portman is actually in this too. When she's young, she plays Al Pacino's stepdaughter, and she gives a great performance in this movie too. I guess I kind of went into spoilers a little bit before with the coffee scene. Natalie Portman's character is an interesting one because she doesn't have a lot of screen time, but it kind of says something to Al Pacino's character. Sorry, I keep just referring to the actors because that's easy to remember, and I don't remember the character names. But it says a lot to Al Pacino's character that even though like he's not her biological dad, you know, he's her stepfather, there's multiple times where she goes to him and you can tell that he really cares about her. And in the end of this movie, there's like a heartbreaking scene where he thinks he's just done with it. He thinks he's lost the bad guys, Al Pacino has, and he just goes back to his hotel. And when he gets there, he finds young Natalie Portman, who had tried committing suicide in his bathroom. And he got there in time where she's like right on the brink of death, but he does what he can to save her, and he takes her into the emergency room. But just the dynamic between those characters shows how much he cares about other people compared to, you know, the villains of the movie. Like, you know, with Robert De Niro, there's something he says throughout the movie repeatedly. It's basically like, you can't take the heat if you can't drop everything in 30 seconds and just leave. That's paraphrasing, but when they're talking to each other in the diner, when they first meet, that's something that Robert De Niro tells Al Pacino when he says that they're the same. And I think in a lot of ways they are, but by the end of the movie, Al Pacino is still with his family. You know, he was still there for them. And Robert De Niro does not end up doing the same for his woman that he meets in the movie, for his girlfriend who he's going to leave with. You see that he sticks to that. Like, when the time comes that he has to choose being with her or leaving, he just saves himself. So that character with Natalie Portman, even though she's not in the movie a lot, is a really important character because it says a lot about Al Pacino's character. The movie is really good at making you like root for both sides for the first half or so, where even though you know the bad guys are bad and you've even seen them like kill people, it's not like you completely want them to get away with it, but there's a part of you that wants to see if they can. And I think that there's a scene halfway through the movie that, at least for me, how I interpreted it and felt about it, there's a scene where they have a bank heist and it all goes wrong and they have this massive shootout with the cops, and you see while they're shooting at the cops, you see some civilians get caught in the crossfire, and there's like, it is a huge shootout. There are a lot of people in danger. And that was the scene that kind of flipped that for me, where you kind of see like, no, these guys really don't care about anyone but themselves. Like they might think they do, and there might be a few people, but overall, like, they are putting so many people in danger. There are even people getting shot, and one of them like picks up a kid to take as like a human shield. Like, that is the scene of the movie that really turns you on the villains. And again, it's not like you were ever fully on their side, because the cops, you know, the detectives, like with Al Pacino and his team, they're really interesting too, and you are rooting for them just as much. But that was the point of the movie in which I feel like it pushed you fully onto the side of the detectives, because it's a great scene. It's a great action scene, but also it's really kind of sad when you think about it. Like, you're seeing these innocent people get caught in the crossfire just because they were there. And yeah, this crew really is just putting everyone at risk so that they can get away. And that was where they really became like the more hateable villains to me. I hope that all makes sense. It's a little long-winded maybe. The next scene I want to talk about is a scene that shows how clever both of these crews are. One crew referring to the police and the other referring to the criminals. But there's a scene where the police, they've been trailing the crew of criminals really closely, and when the criminals catch wind of them, they don't know who's tailing them. You know, they don't know the exact people. I think they know it's the police, but they don't know, you know, which officers, which agents. And so the police follow them to this meeting in the middle of like this big shipyard, I guess. And the police are watching them from afar, and then the criminals leave, and it shows them walking out and looking at the place, and then it kind of hits Al Pacino. He's like, we messed up. We just got made. We're suckers. He's like, they are a good crew. And then it cuts, and Robert De Niro is up there smiling with a camera, taking pictures of them. Like, he got them. They were set up, and they didn't even know it. It's maybe my favorite scene just because I love seeing how clever this crew is, to where even as you're watching the movie and seeing both sides, it catches you off guard as a viewer. The movie has a lot of moments like that, but that was definitely the standout to me. Overall, I'll wrap it up with this. I'll just say that Heat, you know, is a 90s classic, and now that I've seen it, it is completely deserved. I went in with, I actually watched this with one of my buddies, or with a few of my buddies, but one of them, Ben, had recommended it because he wanted to watch it for a long time, and something he said was, I went in with high expectations, and then it still exceeded them by the time the movie was over. I felt the same way. I think that's honestly like the perfect way to recap and describe how I felt about this movie. If you are into crime movies, if you're into thrillers, this is a must-see. The cast is great across the board. The filmmaking's incredible. I really don't have much bad I could say about it. I would have to kind of nitpick and, you know, look for things that really bothered me, but overall, I just gotta say, I've been wanting to see it for years, and I'm so glad I finally got around to it. I need to watch more of Michael Mann's movies, because before this, I had only seen Ferrari, which is his most recent one, and that was really good, but this is easily the better movie of those two. So I gotta get around to everything else he's made, because now that I've seen this, I'm like, oh, I'm hooked. I gotta see everything this guy makes. So yeah, if you haven't seen Heat, it's a must watch. You should definitely get around to it because you won't be disappointed.